Capricorn 11, a large group of pheasants. This is about our ability to refine and beautify nature. Now, idealistically, you can say that nature cannot be improved. Maybe that's true, but we do like gardens, don't we? We apply ourselves to take something which is natural and wild and just improve it by putting in borders, planting different things, shaping it the way we like to sort of see things as an expression of beauty. It's a very creative thing, and it's hard to imagine something which is of greater importance in terms of our ability to be creative than to interact with nature in a way which expresses our own sense of refinement and grace and beauty. Now, the aristocracy throughout the ages have been those with free time and lots of money, and what they do with that is that they do whatever they feel like doing creatively. One example of this is to make a garden with a lawn, and the pheasants decorate the lawn, decorate the garden. Pheasants are wild, aren't they, usually? But if you actually make your garden just so, then you can attract pheasants to be an interaction between the wildness of life and the cultural expression of who we are as a species, really. And this is the essential mystery beneath this, is that there is to be found a balance between the wildness and the cultured quality of who we are. The natural elements within us, our nature, is wild, just like nature. It's not necessarily controlled and structured. We bring that to the table. We bring structure and self-discipline in order that our wild urges to be angry, to be vengeful, to be frightened, to be concerned about things that don't concern us, these sides of us have to be controlled. They have to be disciplined. We have to train ourselves not to be wild. We have to introduce into our lives ways of being to either tame and thereby kind of allow its expression, but in a controlled sense, or move ourselves to a point where what we naturally find to be our normal expression is wanted, useful, helpful, and not damaging. We have to do one of those two things. Now, here the aristocrats have decided to decorate their lawns with pheasants because it's slightly eccentric. In other words, it's self-expressive without regard to society's expectations or rules. So a part of what the aristocrats are doing here are saying, like, we're different from you lot. Now, of course, the rich are criticized quite strongly by the poor when they do that. And yet, compared to someone else, we're all rich. There's always someone poorer than us. We don't do what we do only because that's necessary. We do it because we want to, because we choose to. And that's a valid part of life. It would be very silly, very sad, if all we did was to express our needs for shelter and to build a family, to continue the species, and so on. That would be animal behavior. What we are is human beings. We're above the animal species. And the way in which we differ very significantly from the animal kingdom is in our sense of beauty, our sense of creating beauty. This is what we like to do. Now, when we take that to the land, we put ourselves in a relationship with the land, which I would like to call stewardship. The idea of ownership of land is a little bit silly. the land is so much more than we are. We can't own it. It can own us, but we can't own it. So when we have a parcel of land that's under our responsibility, and we may well have documents that suggest that we own it, but if we have such a responsibility in life, then our duty of stewardship is what we're discussing. And stewardship is service. It's service of something which doesn't really respond in any way other than being beautiful. So if we take care of land, maybe we get food. Certainly I left that out, but basically if we take care of land, it's because we want to make it beautiful. And stewardship is how we do that. This archetype of stewardship is very special. Any attitude of service requires us to be motivated to do it. If we serve for money, that's just a job, that's just an exchange, that's what we do because we need to. But if we actually serve out of a sense of stewardship, something else occurs. There's a dignity to the work, a sense of having a life path, having a purpose in life, which is to take care of something that can't actually take care of itself. In the context of nature, it goes one step beyond that idea of taking care of itself towards nature cannot refine itself to the level of culture and grace that we can. We are more advanced in that degree of consciousness than anything else. We are graceful. Now, Jones uses the keyword illimitability for this. We are not limited. And he draws attention to the difference between some of the pheasants and some of the other pheasants by indicating it's a large group of pheasants, so we can expect diversity. Now, most pheasants are really quite boring in their plumage. There's nothing special about them at all. They're big and noticeable, but they're not beautiful, most of them. But some of them are very beautiful indeed. The males, in this case. So when we're considering masculine energy, we tend to kind of think of action, activity, that we take the initiative. So here we have a more subtle approach to the wisdom of this degree, where if you're just like the large group, then your plumage is boring. You can do things the way things are done, and you don't get excluded. You fit in, but in fitting in, you lose your self-expression. Whereas the male in this case is very brightly coloured indeed. It's so beautiful that we're bound to look when we see the male pheasant. So, which are you wanting to be yourself? Do you want to fit in and be no more or no less mediocre than everyone else? Is that what you want? Or do you want to actually stand out, take the initiative and be colourful and rich and different from the others? It's an interesting life choice. Most of us would say, yes, we want to be unique and creative and so on, and yet behave as though it's more important for us to be part of the group and not noticeably different from the rest of the group. If you choose to be different from the rest of the group, you will be scapegoated at some point. In a small way, let's hope, but in a large way, sometimes. Anyone who actually raises their head above the norm and says, look at me, I'm different, they get to be picked on by the rest of the group. And what we're saying in this particular degree is that that's our duty, in a sense, our duty to be different, to put up with the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune that occur when we do that, just to put up with that and encourage other people to do the same thing. Now, if all of us are actually being self-expressive and just being open about what we want to do with our sense of creativity, then everyone can. It's only when there is the herd instinct that the excellent amongst us are brought down to the level of mediocrity that other people are comfortable with.